All right, we're going to get started here. I want to welcome everyone to WCEDA's 2020 annual meeting. We're so glad you could join us. I want to thank everyone for your support of this agency, particularly over the past year. It's been challenging for everyone, and we're greatly appreciative of everything you've done to help us get through and work with us. To say it's been a challenging year is a huge understatement. I've interacted with literally hundreds of organizations all across our county these past 9 months. And I guess one of the things I'd like to say is that I'm heartened by the resilience that I've seen and just witnessed throughout this time. Very encouraged about that. And, I'm really grateful for all the people on the front lines, our healthcare workers, our food industry and food pantries, all the essential workers. They've hardly missed a beat. So really appreciate about that. I do want to take just a minute too to plug for local shopping. I think the official Shop Local Saturday was this past Saturday, but hopefully people will do that, continue to shop local as much as they can throughout the holidays and really in the next 6 months at least, so that we can help all of our small businesses weather the storm. Like I said, our local charities have been hit hard as well. So if you're able to support them, food pantries, and any of the clothing, we have so many great charities in this county. So if you're able to support some, please do, if you've been fortunate enough to weather this and get through it okay. I know some people will say, well, I only have a limited, modest amount, how can I make that useful? And, for some of those people, maybe the United Way of Walworth County is a good option because they can use your gift and kind of spread it around with all the many agencies that they support as they see needed. So I would just encourage you to support your local charities. And, I just want to say too, that I'm so grateful from everyone at WCEDA, our staff members, our board members, everyone, for all the work that you've done and our support. Today's event, thankfully, has been sponsored by a number of our local businesses that have supported us year-round. One of the things that we've mentioned, and I've mentioned in communications, is that it's kind of unfortunate, but our agency, and we're set up like a lot of the chambers are, they were unable to access a lot of the financial assistance that was available during this crisis. And yet we were on the front lines working as hard as we could. So we greatly appreciate your support. We only do a few fundraisers, and this is one of them. So again, very, very pleased to have the support that we have. For today, we have our presenting sponsor is Mercy Health. And Mercy is actually one of the founding organizations of our organization, of WCEDA, dating back to 2005. They've been very supportive along the way with leadership support, with involvement on the board and plenty of guidance. And so really appreciative of that they're we're willing to be our presenting sponsor today. And here to talk just for a few minutes about how Mercy is serving our business community is Jenny Hallett, who is Vice President for Mercy. So welcome, Jenny. Thank you for being here with us today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. I hope everybody can hear me okay. Jarek, you want to just give me a thumbs up, make sure that my audio is working okay? Thank you.
Good. Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. You'd think by now we'd all be used to this wonderful technology, but there's always bugs that we need to work through. I know that we're all tired of talking about COVID, but what the heck else is there to talk about, except for that. So I wanted to just spend a couple brief minutes just sharing with you what Mercy Health has done during this pandemic, and kind of give you some things as business leaders to think about for keeping your own employees safe. So I'm going to ask for assistance running my slides. So why don't you go ahead and go to the next slide? Thank you. One of the big things that Mercy Health did, and really all businesses, is we needed to figure out how to still function. How do we function in the midst of a pandemic? How do we continue to provide necessary care when the message was don't leave your house? And so after a pause of a lot of services, just like your own businesses, we had to figure out how to do it differently. And so a lot of that was implementing cleaning, enhanced cleaning, ensuring our own staff and patients were wearing masks, additional screening at the door, limiting visitors, which isn't really always a good thing when you're working in healthcare. You want those loved ones to be involved, but we've had to limit visitors in the hospitals and such. Taking temperatures, reminding those to social distance. We figured out really quickly that safety is absolutely our number one priority always, but we had to figure out what does safety mean for our patients. And it was essential for us to get messaging out to our patients to know that, yes, healthcare, your doctor's office is a safe place to come, even in the midst of the pandemic. And so that was a lot of what we were focused on early. Why don't we go ahead and go to the next slide, please? During the time of social distancing, people have been prolonging their care. We see that in our emergency rooms. We see people coming into our emergency rooms now much sicker than they maybe needed to be because they have prolonged their care. And so we've really been working on marketing efforts to tell people, don't prolong your care. Again, this is a safe place to be. We've been doing podcasts with our emergency physicians and so forth. And in addition, people are postponing their preventative visits. A pandemic is certainly a great excuse to prolong that colonoscopy, right? I can't do my colonoscopy right now. There's a pandemic going on. Well, this is something that I wanted to share with you as business leaders. How many people have prolonged their preventative care right now, and they might be walking around with cancer, and we don't know, and they don't know because they haven't kept up with that, with those routine checks. And so as employers, I really encourage you to encourage your employees to continue to keep up with those necessary wellness checks. It's important even now. Next slide, please. One thing that we've done to try to allow for increased access and removing those barriers to healthcare is implementing telemedicine. You've seen a lot around the healthcare industry about telemedicine now. And so we did the same, implemented telemedicine visits, Skype type messages, Zoom type visits, where for those things where people don't have to have the physical the physical exam, what can we do so you still stay connected with your physician to still take care of your everyday needs. You might be wondering, so why didn't we do this before? Why didn't medicine do this before? Zoom isn't brand new. Why now? And it wasn't until the pandemic that healthcare could really be reimbursed for telemedicine services. Seema Verma, who is the head of CMS, has said that, okay, now the genie's out of the bottle. Now we've allowed for telemedicine to be used and Medicare will pay for it. The genie's out of the bottle. It doesn't make sense to reverse things. And so that's one good thing that's happened out of the pandemic, I would say, is that it's allowed healthcare industry to actually figure out how to deliver care virtually and be reimbursed appropriately for it. So there'll be a lot of changes coming down the road, I think, as we introduce telemedicine. And again, as business leaders, this is, thinking about your total healthcare expenditure for your employees, this certainly could be a cheaper option. to instead of having those emergency visits, having those big visits in the clinic setting. Maybe a cheaper option is to do a telemedicine visit and instead of prolonging things. So next slide, please. We've tried to also just stay connected to the community, try to provide increased education. We can't do our face-to-face seminars right now for obvious reasons, and people have had more screen time. And so we said, okay, well, we'll just change our community education into screen time. And so we've had a number of our local physicians providing Zoom type seminars, podcasts. We've also worked with Walworth County Public Health and conducted or assisted them with some virtual town hall meetings to discuss COVID. And it's really been a great partnership so that we continue to provide outreach to the community as best as possible. And then one more slide, focused on employee wellness. Certainly, not only our own employees that are on the front lines, we've beefed up our EAP resources. We've provided our staff with more virtual reminders and options for being mindful about their own wellness. As caregivers, I'm often reminding our caregivers, you can't, it's kind of the airplane type of scenario. Don't, take your mask, put your own oxygen mask on first before you help the next person. Same thing in healthcare. I'm reminding our staff that you need to take care of yourself. And if you can't take care of yourself, you can't help your patients. You can't even help your family. And this is very stressful times for everyone. And so trying to provide them some outlet, some resources. And I'm sure that, you're doing the same thing in all of your businesses too. So that we can, these are stressful times, not only in our jobs, but, we can't get away from this. It's in our schools, it's in our homes, it's in our community. So that was all I wanted to share today. I do thank WCEDA for all of the great work that they do. Thank you, Derek, for all of your ongoing support, and look forward to the rest of our presenters today. Thanks.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Jenny, really, for all that you're doing and all of our healthcare workers on the front lines here. It's just amazing. I'm sure it's exhausting and still a lot of work ahead of us. But I know I speak for everybody here when I say that we're greatly appreciative. And speaking of workers, workforce has been a major challenge and will continue to be a major challenge going forward. And so, one of the things that we've developed over the years, over the last 3 to 5 years, are some workforce development programs. And, in order to try to help grow those programs, we need to continue to get support for that. And so I'm really pleased today that we have three sponsors around our talent development sponsors. And so just have a very short few pre-recorded clips that we'd like to play for you right now from our 3 sponsors, which are Form Wealth Management, Cunos Foundation, and Voyager Capital Management.
I want everyone to have the same experience that we try and give our clients at Form Wealth. That experience is having someone that cares more about your life than just your money. See, at Form Wealth, it's not just about making more money. It's about making a better life with the money that you have. It's having a conversation about what is this money for, than just having a conversation about the money itself. Way too many financial advisors, and quite frankly, this whole financial industry wants to put the focus on the stuff, the investments, the strategy, how you're gonna beat whatever it is you're gonna beat. When I find most people, they just wanna know they're gonna be okay tomorrow. They're gonna be able to retire. They're gonna be able to take care of their grandkids. They're gonna be able to have someone guide them and make the decision of what can I do and what shouldn't I do and when should I do it. To get the phone call to say, hey, I was thinking about giving some of this, can I do some of that? Those are the conversations we want to have with our clients. The money matters, that's the easy stuff. Helping you live a better life, that's my real job. My job is to help understand everything that you know about what you want to do with what you have. The experience at Form Wealth is the combination of wise stewardship and great relationship, doing life together. So if you don't have an advisor, or you feel your advisor does nothing but talk to you about the money instead of about your life, maybe you should come have a different conversation with an advisor at Form Wealth.
Hi everyone, I'm Kelly Cunos. I am Greg Cunos' daughter. He is the owner and president of Cunos Country Auto Group. Giving back to the communities we serve has been one of the foundations of our business. My dad has said it again and again, if you are only chasing the dollar, we'll never do our best. But if we invest in and take care of the communities that we serve, then they will take care of us too. In order to be contributing well, my dad and our family has created the Cunos Family Foundation. We tithe 10% from all of our businesses back into doing God's work, churches, missionaries, schools, etc. All of our charitable giving goes through this entity, and we've been blessed to be able to give over $1 million annually to local, regional, and global efforts that have helped to better people's lives. Every single dollar that we tithe goes back into doing God's work all over the world and in our local communities. Some things that we are proud to be a part of are Walworth County schools in scholarships, school upgrades, and most recently we've helped with food assistance for the kids. Walworth County Police Departments providing lunches, and again, most recently we have given over $11,000 to the Demoon Police Department to get bulletproof vests. Also, Walworth County Food Pantries. We help all of the food pantries, but we did just do our Thanksgiving effort, which we gave over $12,000 so that each person or each family that came through the line on Thanksgiving Day was able to get a turkey. Also, Safe Families, Open Arms Free Clinic, Walworth County churches, and some overseas that we're proud to be a part of. We support our local missionaries that go to Prague, Honduras, Nepal, and Romania. They live over there, so we give monthly to them. Another mission that we are very proud to be a part of is Eternal Word in India. We build orphanages for girls, and most recently we did build an orphanage for boys. So we put in a well over there, we help with the school over there, and provide a safe place for these kids to be over in India. Impact Ministries, that we build safe homes for girls and women to live in Belize. They started over in Minnesota and now they are over in Belize, and we build safe homes over there. We're able to do these amazing things and amazing projects because of all of our employees. They help us grow and they help us be able to put this money back into this foundation so that we can give to the communities we serve. And we're also able to do these amazing things because of our community. They keep this foundation growing, this business growing, and in return we're able to help them. So thank you to all of you, and thank you to our amazing employees.
Voyager Capital Management is Walworth County's fee-only investment advisor located right here in Lake Geneva. We are an independent, SEC-registered investment advisory firm offering the following services: wealth management, financial planning, and small business retirement plans. It can be difficult to sail a boat on your own. Managing your investments and financial plan is not any different. Luckily, you can have an experienced navigator to help you reach your aspirations. Let Voyager Capital Management be your navigator, and we will help you reach your investment and planning goals. Voyager is beyond just investing. We cultivate dynamic and personal solutions to fit your needs while building a strong relationship with you. It is our vision to improve the financial well-being of our clients by getting to know their dreams, their goals, and specific needs. Voyager Capital Management. Let us help you chart the course for the life you deserve.
Really want to thank our sponsors again for just not the ones that we featured, but all of them, for helping support us and what we do all year long. It's greatly appreciated. I'm very excited now about the next part of our program, the main part of our program. Our keynote speaker has a fascinating story. I like to think of it as one of those great American dream type stories. And it's one that has featured many challenges along the way, and I'm sure we're going to hear about that. When I reached out to her, she graciously agreed to do that without any hesitation. And so we're really grateful for her willingness to share her time and her insights with us today. Some of you may have passed her former Lake Geneva estate by boat or on foot and seen her signage that said "Expect a Miracle." I was glad to hear that she has a new home, that she'll be rejoining us in the Lake Geneva community again soon. And so who am I talking about? I'm talking about our keynote speaker today, Carolyn Gable. And Carolyn is she's a founder of a multi-million-dollar logistics firm. She's an acclaimed author, recipient of President George W. Bush's Points of Light, Regional Ernst & Young Entrepreneur of the Year, and the WBDC Entrepreneurial Woman of the Year. Carolyn was a featured speaker at TedX Berkeley in 2015 and has been the subject of numerous television and print media stories, including ABC's 2020, The Millionaire Mind. Her success has enabled her to give back through her different charitable organizations, including Expect a Miracle Foundation and her Believe Project, which has served more than 8,000 children. And as you will hear, Carolyn achieved all of this on her own against much adversity from humble beginnings. Gives me great pleasure to welcome Carolyn Gable to our event. Thank you for being here, Carolyn.
Thank you. Well, this is the first time I've done this, so it's a unique experience. I feel like Jimmy Fallon, where I feed off my audience, right? So what do I have but a green light here? So anyway, what I want to do today is I want to briefly share my story with you. I'm hoping that during this time you're going to get a couple nuggets to, like, okay, if she did it and she went through it and she used these tools, I've got what she's got. And I really feel that way, that, we all share the same DNA of fight and tenacity. Sometimes we just have to get the inspiration. So let me take you back on my journey. My road was not paved with diamonds. My road was a very unique one. I was raised in Hoffman Estates. Both my parents were in the Marine Corps. Devout Catholics, had 6 children, and we were very poor. Everybody was poor after World War II. And in 1965, my father died. He was 42 years old, and really left my mother totally unequipped to handle 6 children. So, but God love her, she did the best she could, but we were really, able and forced to live on our own. My older siblings, younger siblings, all went to college. I didn't want to go to college. I didn't like school. I was much more social. I enjoyed being with people and reading books and working on math, and was not my deal. So in 1969, when I graduated high school, and you don't have to bring out your calculator, I am 69 years old today. There were not a lot of opportunities. I mean, women were, you were a secretary, you were a teacher, you were a nurse, and that was just about it. Or you were a stay-at-home mom. So I went to beauty school, became a beautician, didn't like it, and I got into waitressing. And I was a waitress for over 15 years. And I loved it. I loved the freedom. I loved the fact that every day, every night, every table was somebody new, somebody great to talk to and learn and develop. What I had no idea what was happening at that time was that I was building this foundation that I would eventually use in my company. Now, again, back then in the 70s, a waitress, for all waitresses out there, we never, ever, ever get the respect today that we truly deserve. It's a lot of work. We make the best of it. It's a very lucrative, especially if you're a single parent. Through those years, I got married, got divorced, and I had 2 small children. But now the 80s hit. With the 80s came, women had a voice. You know, we could now get a credit card. Women could get in sales. Women could really expand who they were. But I was a waitress, and I had really put myself in a corner of not going back to school, not having an education. No one wanted to believe that, okay, you're a waitress, you could be something more than you really actually are. So I started going on interviews. I was waiting on these women. You know, they had their suits on, and I was like, I want to do that. I want to be whoever they are. I want to be whatever they're selling. I want that respect. I want that dynamic. And everywhere I went for years, I was walked out the door, literally walked out the door. You're a waitress, you have no education. You know, I was pigeonholed. And on a side note, a sad story was that I came from a family now of all educated people. So all my siblings were also saying the same thing. So, you know, where do you go when you get that, oh yeah, I can be something more? You know, it has to be something from within, something that you say, I can do this. I can be more than what it looks like, what the future looks like. So eventually I walked into a trucking company. They had an ad, excuse me, in the paper. And I walked in, I interviewed, I absolutely fell in love with the terminal manager, and he hired me. But he hired me on one caveat, that I would never, ever ask to be more than a customer service rep. And again, this was the 80s. They could get away with that stuff then. And I agreed. I was desperate. I wanted to get out of waitressing. Anyway, got the job, and you know, it was great. But I also realized that it was filled with men salespeople that at 1 o'clock, they were nowhere to be found. You know, back in the 80s and probably the 90s, they would call them liquid lunches, right? So I was taking care of all their customers. So I went to my boss and I said, okay, I want to get in sales. You know, I know what the deal is. And he said, no, you promised me it's never going to happen. And one day, a couple of VPs came in and I knew. And that's the message that I have several messages, but that's one of them, is that when that magic moment hits, and it takes courage, it takes a lot of courage, you've got to jump on it. You got to make that phone call. You got to call that customer. You've got to ask for the job. You've got to ask for it, whatever it looks like. So I did. I went up to them and I said, I would love to get in sales. I think I would be really good at it. And probably at that time, again, they were seeing that Carolina Freight, other companies were now putting women in sales. They said, why not? Right? So, and they did. They put me in sales, and it was not a door that opened in my life. It was a double door. And I think we all have those moments in our life where we have a door open and then there's a double door. This was a double door. I was now in sales. I was now able to gain the respect from myself, from others. I didn't know anything about freight. I knew nothing about trucking. I mean, nothing. I didn't know a delivery receipt. I didn't know a bill of lading. I didn't know anything. But what I knew was how to take care of a customer. I had 15 years of experience with that, of how to treat them well, be honest. Okay, you know, the food's not coming, or this isn't happening. I learned those basics, right, that you need in business. Customers love to know the truth, even when the truth is absolutely horrible. So anyway, I went on, worked for a couple different companies, got remarried. That's a whole different, that's a whole nother talk. But anyway, went on to have 5 more children. Marriage didn't work, but I started my own company. And it was 1989. There was absolutely no woman in the industry that was doing it. but it was predicated on the fact that I had so much business. I had so many customers that really enjoyed me coming in, you know, and again, it was always back to my waitress days. I cared. I wanted to know. So what's going on with your daughter? What's going on with your mother? What's going on with this? I had that great memory and I had curiosity. So little did I know that what I was building was this foundation of relationships. And my customers followed me for years and years and years and years. And then I got a call from Time Warner out of the blue. I'd been in business maybe, I don't know, 5, 7 years. Every year, you know, we started out, we kept growing. I was hiring employees. Don't forget, I had no experience in this. I had no education. I had no management skills. I was doing it all on a wing and a prayer. But it kept building and it kept building and it kept building and it kept building. Anyway, I got a call from Time Warner. Time Warner said, would you like to, we've heard about you and our customers have used you. Would you be interested coming to New York? So I said, yeah, Time Warner, of course. At that time, Ted Turner, right? Like maybe I'd see him in the elevator. How cool would that be? So anyway, 2 days later, they called and I got the account. I mean, like unbelievable how that would happen. And overnight, my company just tripled. I had to hire 20 employees, so we were going to launch it in 60 days. And then I went back to them after a month or two and I said, can I sell this to other cable companies? And fortunately, they said yes. So my company was growing and growing and growing. I knew the cable industry. I had, at one time, Comcast and Cox, Time Warner. I had everybody. I had the little guys, I had the big guys. That's when everything changed. So that, what I look at as I was preparing this talk today is, that was my COVID moment, right? Like out of the blue, what happened? Accenture, the consulting company, I swear to this day, got a list of all my top customers because they went into all of them. And they said, you know, we could do it better, we can do it cheaper. And eventually, I mean, in 2009, I had a $10 million customer, Cox Communications. On April 1st, I'll never forget it, April Fool's Day, they called to tell me that they were going with somebody else. And it was like devastating. So you can imagine, here I am, you know, 15, almost 20 years of every year, great success. We built a warehouse, we built a distribution center. I was going from 10, 20 to 30, 40, 50, 60 employees. We were featured on 2020. I mean, we were everywhere. And then one phone call, everything changed. How do you tell 15 people that had been on an account for 10 years, that had been there through every storm, through every Katrina, through everything that we've done, that it's over? And then eventually, a few years later, got a call January 6, 2015, Time Warner, my account for 15 years, they left too. That same year, 9 months later, I woke up on a September morning, I got an email from my VP, and she said she was resigning. Now, she wasn't any VP. She was a woman that I had hired to take care of my children 20 years earlier. I taught her everything I knew. I trusted her with my life. And here she was calling to say she was resigning. It had been a tough year. There had been a lot of changes. You know, we were always shifting and pivoting and what about this and what about that, what about this? So I knew that she was under tremendous pressure. And I told her, just take a break, take some time off. That afternoon, I went into work and I realized that she had deleted everything off all the computers. She had sent a lot of it to her personal email. And eventually, with the next 24 hours, I realized that she had taken all our company information and sold it to a competitor. So the reason I share all this with you is that I've been there. I've been where you're at, where you're, how do I handle this fear? How do I handle this desperation? How do I handle this anger? How do I handle betrayal? How do you know, you're just not prepared for this, right? We were all going along before COVID hit. Everything is good. You know, you have your ups and downs. Of course, you're in business. We're entrepreneurs, many of us. So we're able to pivot. We're able to spin. But when something this big, this devastating hits, what do? And I'm going to tell you what I did. I had to go within. I had to really, really, you know, I call it my toolbox when I did the TED Talk. We all have this toolbox. Now, this is how I feel, that before we're born, our soul meets up with God, right? And we say, okay, what's this journey going to look like? What's life going to look like in this lifetime? And, you know, I would like to learn this, and I'd like to learn that, and I'd like to see this, and I'd like to see that. And God says, here's your toolbox. And I'm going to give you everything you need that's going to take you through your entire life. And all you have to do is look to the toolbox. So in my toolbox, I had tenacity. I had been through so much in my life, I had to pull out that tenacity tool. I had to pull out my faith tool. When these things are happening, and I'm very faith-based, I mean, my faith is rock solid. But when you're going through these times, you don't feel like that. You feel like you're in the belly of Jonah. You feel like you in the dark night of soul. You feel like how am I going to get through this? But I knew that I had these tools. I knew that I was a hard worker. I knew that I had perseverance. I knew that I could make things happen. And I knew I was intuitive. I knew that in the quiet moments of my life, that I could hear God saying, do this, try this, make this happen. I remember going to my lunch with my banker. It was a terrible time. I didn't know if I wanted to do, now I'm in my 60s. Do I really want to do this anymore? You know, I really want to start over. And she said, I'm going to introduce you to somebody. They're an M&A guy, and they're going to hook you up. Maybe you should sell your company. I'm like, yeah, this is a good time to sell it. So anyway, I met with the man, and we had a nice lunch, but he looked at me and he said, let me tell you something. Nobody wants to buy a sinking ship. You might as well put a knife in my heart, right? A sinking ship? That was a huge success. What do you mean a sinking ship? So the voice hit, you know what? All your competitors, what they're doing now, they're opening in Chicago. We had Coyote, we had C.H. Robinson, we had Echo. And I never really wanted to be in Chicago. I had this warehouse facility center here in Lake Zurich, but I knew that I had to pivot. And that is my message to all of you today. If you're doing the same thing you did before COVID, chances are you need to pivot. This is a time in your life when you can say, you know what, I'm at the end of the road. Revenues are down. You know, many of you maybe have got your credit cards to the max, you know, a second mortgage on your home. You're doing everything you can and nothing is really happening. But this much I can tell you for sure. The pendulum swings both ways. Of course, we like life right in here. But when it is bad, like now, COVID, this is bad. Believe me, I'm feeling it too. It will go back this way. It will, I promise you. I'm old enough, I'm wise enough to tell you. But you have to be there. You know, if you're walking with your head down all the time, oh my God, no one's calling, my customers, my employees are, you know, I can't keep up with this, good things can't come to you. You've got to keep your head up. You've got to be positive. People feed off of that. Sometimes you got to fake it till you make it. I get it. You know, you're like, you don't know my problems. I know your problems. Fake it. How are things going? They're going great. They're going great. With your employees do not want to see you at the end of your rope. That I would say was one of my hardest challenges, that I knew when I came in that door every day, even though the numbers were down and the revenues were down and my VP had totally betrayed me, I had to go in like a warrior. That was one of my tools. I've always been a warrior. So what I did And in my last ditch attempt, I opened an office in Chicago. I was never really in truckload. It was a part of the freight business that I was never into, but I needed to do it. I had to do it. And it took off. And it took off. Revenue started to come back in. Profits started to come back in. We were now rehiring people. So that's the message today, is that maybe you're doing something and you did it really, really well for a long time and you made a lot of money doing it. It was very profitable. But now you're forced to say, I need to do something else. And maybe it's even getting out of your business. I don't know. Maybe this is an opportunity for you to say, you know what, I never really liked doing this. I really liked being a chef. I really liked helping children. I really liked whatever. Or not, or you say, no, this is my business and I love it. And what I need to do is I need to sell. And I need to get out there. And I have a very good friend who has a furniture making store. Well, no one's buying office furniture anymore. So what she got into now are the partitions. She pivoted. She's making more money now than she did selling custom made office furniture. So that's what you have to do, is just start thinking, how can I do it? What can happen? And I can tell you that when things started getting better again, I had an offer to sell my company. 2018, a company came and they said, we're really interested. I had kept my reputation, and I can, that's another thing I can say. Your reputation will always precede you. Always, always, always. Always did everything right. Always made sure that people were taken care of. And they came to me, they said, you got a great reputation. We would love to keep you, or not, if you want to leave. My attitude was, if I'm going to sell the company, I want to go on, I want to do other things. And we closed. We closed in May of 18. And one of the greatest things it's the greatest thing of all time, is that June of 2018, that company billed $1 million more than they did in 1 month than they did in all of May. It had nothing to do with the new buyers. I was on my way out. I was there, for a few months to close everything, my part of it up. But it gave me this great feeling of I had turned my life over to somebody. God was giving them the message that this company is going to go on without her. So after I sold my company, what am I going to do? I love giving back. For all of you that walk the path up there at the house in Lake Geneva, I ended up selling it in 2017. It was a lot. It was a lot for me to handle. There was a lot going on, but I had no idea how much I was going to miss it. Every time that bell rang, my heart skipped a beat. I would go down there, I would get those spiral notebooks, and I would read every single story from every single person. I knew the power, I knew the impact of what was happening. But I figured, okay, it was time. It was time to move on, try to do other things. So I sold the company or sold the house, but it never, ever, ever left me. What I went on to do, I got certified by Gallup. And I don't know if all of you or any of you have heard about Gallup, but Gallup has a program called Strength Finders. Strength Finders, we all have these strengths, right? These are strengths that we were born with, that we've nurtured through our life. But sometimes we just don't really know the name or the word to put on it, right? So I got certified. What it is I go into a company, the employees all then take this assessment, and we all share in 34 strengths. They're shifted though, where my number 1 is positivity, my second is activator, my third is futuristic. So that's great. I mean, it took me through a great journey of success, but it also caused a lot of problems because I was impetuous. I'm still impetuous. I want it, I see it, I'm going to do it, I'm going to get it. So Strength Finders, everybody, top to bottom, president to your least paid employee takes it. And then everybody sees everybody else's strengths. So how many times we go into a meeting And you're like, oh, Bill can never make up his mind. You know, we don't, why do we have to wait for Bill to make up his mind? Well, Bill probably is deliberative. And people that have deliberative in their top 5, they're thinkers. You know, I'm like, great idea. Let's do it. Let's make it happen. Bill's like, no, let's take our time on this. If somebody else has strategic, they're going to come in. They want the facts. They want the numbers. So how great it is when in a company that we see people for their strengths. We talk to them in their strengths, right? A manager comes in, a manager has all these people. The manager has no idea how to manage all these people. You know, Gallup has a book called It's All About the Manager. A great manager means great employees, happy employees. Happy employees equal great revenues, equal great profits. Gallup has researched this. There is data to back it up. A bad manager, and a bad manager, a poor manager, is probably someone who's been promoted, right? They're really good at what they do. And believe me, I was very guilty. I wish that I had this when I was a business owner, that you put somebody in the position and their attitude is, well, I did it. Well, not everybody's like you. Not everybody's like you, so you got to bring them along. They have absolutely no capability to bring them all along. So Gallup helps with this. This assessment is phenomenal. If your company needs more revenue, more profits, more growth, I encourage you, of course I do it, but I encourage you to do it with anybody who's a Gallup certified instructor, to come in and take a look. And again, if you're the owner, or you're the president, or you're the manager, they want to see you too. You know, I have a son who works at Crate and Barrel. He has harmony, number 1. Harmony. So if his boss says, I think you should move the display, he takes offense to that. But if she talks to his harmony, I'd really love it if you move the display. He'll move it. It's subtle shifts. Subtle shifts. If your employees are happy, if they are being managed to their strengths, they will do better. That's part of our innate human being. We want to do better. We want to be respected. We want to be seen for who we are. And how great is it to have this tool to say, these are the top 5 strengths. You cannot manage weaknesses. You just can't, right? That's all we talk about are people's weaknesses. When you manage to the strengths, employees will be so much better. So as I move on, what happened when I got back, I was in Arizona. I came back in April because of COVID. I suddenly was like all of you. It was once again, what's going on? How do I make this all work? You know, I can't do anything anymore, right? I was so trapped, which is so not like me. I developed anxiety. And for all of you that have anxiety, I cannot even begin to tell you how my heart, the compassion that I have for you. And anxiety is something that, it's not like a headache where it kind of comes and goes. This anxiety stayed day after day after day after day. And so what I did is I researched it, I went to therapy, I could do a TED Talk, seriously, on anxiety. And how to get through it, and how to manage it, and how to get out of it. And one of the people that I went to go see suggested breath work. You know, we just can't seem to get that breath, especially now, right? When we're living in fear and anxiety, we're not breathing. We're breathing shallow from our chest. So I started doing this breath work. I loved it. I saw it was transformational. And what I did is I became certified. So now I'm able to teach this breathwork class, and I loved it. And the people that come absolutely love it. So again, I encourage you, sometimes if we learn these simple things of breathing, a yoga, relaxation, the mind stops, right? We quiet our mind down. And when we do that, that's when you get that inspiration. That's when you get that still voice of, why don't you try this? Why don't you try that? I started a new website. I have a new website, which Derek has already shown, the Carolyn Gable Foundation. It's showing, or Carolyn, www.carolyngable.com. It's showing all the new things that I've done, right? I don't want to go into retirement at the Garlands or Friendship Village. I don't want to do that. I'm going to go kicking and screaming. I've got another 10, 20 good years here, and I want to help and I want to give back. So as I was in my journey, I was in Arizona, I was living in Malibu, I was living this great life before COVID. And when I came back, I always, 100% of the time, Lake Geneva never, ever, ever, ever left my heart. And when I came back, I 100% knew that I was back to recreate the path. When I had that home on 700, over 50,000 people came in and signed into the books. And these were not one-timers. These were people from all over the world that came in and wrote and talked about what had happened to them, the experiences that they had on that path. So I knew that God was, it didn't need COVID. I guess maybe I did need COVID. I don't know. Sometimes we need really horrible things. One thing about adversity teaches us great things, right? You're like, I don't really want adversity. I don't want COVID. I don't want tough times. But when you look back, you think, that's really what made you who you are. That gives you that fight. That gives you that spirit. So I met this wonderful woman that was looking to sell her home. I purchased it. It's right over by the Geneva Inn. This time I'm going to need a permit. So I'm hoping all of you out there that have any connections, I got to get a permit now to do the path. But I definitely want to do that again. I mean, the house is one thing. The house is going to be a 2-year project of tearing it down and rebuilding it all back up. But my heart, my soul is saying it's all about recreating the path. We need it, right? We absolutely, 2021 and on, we need hope. We need people that are going to be out there that are going to help us and bring us up. And often a simple little quote resonates so much with who we are that we say, yeah, okay, I've got it. I can get through this. I've been through everything Carolyn Gable's been through. I've been through too. And if she did it, I can do it as well too. The last thing I want to talk about is giving back. And I can tell you without a doubt that even Derek, you talked about it briefly. So right now, maybe you don't have the money. Maybe you just don't have the money to help. And I get that. I was there for many, many, many years of my life. I could barely put food on the table. I could barely buy my son's shoes. How was I going to give back? But you can give back in other ways. You can give back by just sending them love. Love is a very, very, very powerful tool, emotion. Think about them. Send them love. When you see somebody in the grocery store, open the door for them, help them with their groceries. I mean, out to their car. I mean, there's just so many little tiny things that we can do. But if you are able to help, you can't afford, go to the food bank. See what you can do. See how you can volunteer. This is a time to get out of our head. Because if we stay in our head, yeah, you're going to develop anxiety, fear, frustration, doom, gloom. Oh my God, we're never going to get out of this. What's going to happen? When we come out of ourselves and we go into other people and say, how can I serve you? How can I help you? How can I wash your feet just as Jesus Christ did? How can I do that? Very metaphorically, of course, but how can I do that? I 1000% will tell you your life will turn around. I saw it with the Expect a Miracle Foundation. I started that 15 years ago. We've helped thousands and thousands and thousands of children with extracurricular activities. So they're all from single parents. So you have to be a single parent to apply. These children need football. They need baseball. They need a coach. This is all part, they're going through such trauma as a single parent of a single child. So they need these extracurricular activities. And the more we did, the better my life get. yeah, in so many ways, financially, business-wise, personally, stronger. I mean, there's so many wonderful things. A few years ago, I developed the Believe Project. And many of you maybe know what the Believe Project is, but I'll explain it to you. I was forced many times, I was put in a situation, and this is another thing I can tell you, this is how God works, and this is how the universe works. You are put in situations where you're gonna grow. And you're there and you're like, oh, it doesn't feel right, but there's a growing opportunity here. There's a reason why you are there. Anyway, I kept being in a situation, I'd be at the store, I'd be at the Jewel, and there'd be somebody in front of me that couldn't afford, you know, their entire cart. I had more than enough money to say, here, I've got $5, I got 10, whatever. I could not come up with the courage to do it. And as it happened more and more, I thought, well, maybe I could put it in an envelope and I could carry these envelopes with me. And that's really how it started. So it's a Believe envelope, and there are 5 motivational cards that, you know, it's going to be okay. They're from, you know, Winston Churchill. They're just positive motivational. And believe me, from the people that have received the cards, the feedback is that often the motivational cards are just as important as $100. But they love the feeling that someone has recognized the fact that they're not alone. So if you're interested, and if you know of somebody that could use the Believe envelope with $100, I encourage you to go to the website, believeproject.net, and fill it out. Fill out the form. The Daily Herald here is doing it all in December. The Arizona Republic is doing it every day in December as well. And we have a website that we're doing it. And yes, it comes in with the $100. We'll send it to you. You give it to the recipient. And believe me, it is the circle of love. So you get it for giving it, for thinking about it. The recipient, of course, receives it, and it all comes flowing back to me. And it keeps going, and it keeps going, and it keeps going. So briefly, that was it for my life. I mean, what's the bottom line? Don't give up. Don't give up. Look at this time as a time to grow. Why, instead of saying, why is it happening? Say, what can I do? So are you going to go, you know, the old saying, are you going to go through COVID or are you going to grow through COVID? I think the worst thing that's going to happen to all of us is that here today, we cannot sit and tell future generations what we learned from this time. What is the learning? This did not happen just to happen. This happened for a reason. And we can do it in a global sense, and we can do it in a personal sense. So grow from it, learn from it, love from it, get out of your skin, get out there, help others, and you will be so surprised how things are going to shift in your life. I promise you, because I lived it myself. So right now, I would love to take some questions for, you know, a few 10, 15 minutes of anything that I said, anything that you're going through, any questions. Maybe I didn't explain it well enough. So, you know, have at it.
No, that's great, Carolyn. Really enjoyed your talk. And all I would just say is if somebody does want to raise a question, it might be at the bottom of your screen there, but if not, if you scroll down or up, you should see it where it has a Q&A tab there that you can click on. And if you do, you can raise your hand and then we'll allow you to ask your question in person there. So just give us a minute here for somebody to do that. Looks like we've got a couple here. Let's see, okay. Take this one here. All right, Sandy, do you want to ask your question?
Yes, I'd be happy to. Thank you, Derek. Terrific session. I'm very familiar with Carolyn. I had brought my daughter to one of her sessions that she presented at the library in Lake Geneva.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, are you accepting volunteers with your project?
Well, not at the moment, but maybe what you could do is you could just send me a note to carolyngable.com and tell me like what you're interested in. But for right now, no. I mean, as it continues to grow, yes, I'm definitely going to need volunteers.
Okay, thank you very much, and bless you with your energy. And I have walked the path and written in your book many times. I'm so grateful that you're resurrecting that. It is such a need right now and always. Thank you, Carolyn. Bless you.
Hey, Sandy, thank you.
All right, Sarah Nichols there, if you'd like to, I don't know if it's more of a comment or if you have a question. Oh, there you go, Sarah.
No, it was just a comment. I wanted to say thank you for sharing your story and having that love, to witness love in action. So many more people need to see that. So continue to do the good work.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you.
Looks like Casey just had a comment there.
Okay.
I don't know if he's.
Inspire them that change is good. Yes, change is good. We don't want to be the same. We don't want to. We just don't. Our bodies are changing. We're looking different. Life is different. But yet sometimes we just hold on that, I don't want to change. And change is a good thing. You want to change. You want to change. Absolutely.
Looks like, I don't know if we lost Casey, but he did say he wanted to wish you a happy birthday. And I think I caught that as well. Is today your birthday?
Oh, my birthday's in April.
Oh, okay. I thought you said birthday today, but okay. All right, here's another question here from Frank McKern.
Yeah, hi. Could you go over again maybe the information on the Gallup assessment? As I'm looking to grow our company, I think that would be very insightful and helpful. Thanks.
Yeah. Yes, it's really great. It's all positive. Number one. So people hate taking assessments, and they're like, oh, I'm going to be found out, right? That I'm not smart and I'm not good enough, and I'm not. It's terrible how our brains work. But that is not what Gallup's assessment is about. We have 30%, and they're all good. They're all good, but we live in our top 5. So each person who works for you lives in their top 5. And this assessment, it's about 180 questions, takes about a half hour, 45 minutes. The assessment will come back and it'll say, okay, Bill Smith, these are his top 5. He's strategic, he's analytical, he's maybe deliberative, he's maybe got harmony. And then, the 5th one could be, he has empathy. And then as a manager, Frank, what you do is you look at him and you're like, okay, this is how he rolls. This is how he thinks. And also, he's the one you want to go to if you need an Excel spreadsheet done, or you've got a project, or you need research done, you want to go to him because he's strategic. He loves that. Don't come to me for strategic. I don't want that. I don't want to do Excel spreadsheets, but he might really like it. So people will tell you responsibility. If people have responsibility, number one, they're on time, and they want everybody else to be on time. So again, you're able then to see everybody, and they're able to see you too. That, oh, wow, okay, he's not being difficult. This is just who he is. Maybe they have, I'm trying to think of some really strong personalities where that's just who they are. They're not difficult, they're just who they are. So anyway, it's kind of a window into the soul, but it's all good, it's all positive. And then people like it. People really, really like it because you're talking their talk. How many times we've had a boss and we're like, they don't know me, they don't know anything about me. But this they do. But it's great for new managers coming in, because a new manager is looking at all these employees and he doesn't know anything about them, right? So this is a test, an assessment that helps you understand people a little bit better.
Carolyn, there's one question there. If you could just repeat your 5 strengths too.
Mine are positivity, number one. It's on my website. Positivity, activator. You know, I've always got to be doing, always got to make things happen. Futuristic, relator. So I really relate to people. And then connectedness, right? So I'm not happy if I'm not connected to people. Now, there are a lot of people that don't need a lot of people, but that's not me. There are some people that really, like I said, they're more interperspective. They're more quiet. They're more, that's not who I am. So COVID was so hard for me because I lost that connection. I need my friends. I need my children. I need my grandchildren. I need to get on an airplane. That's who I am. So again, I have to look at it. It's just when you see yourself, you're like, yeah, okay. Even at my age, you're like, wow, I knew it, but I didn't know it. So yeah, my 5 top strengths are on the website, my website.
Good. And then Carolyn, just one other thing, and I mean, I'm sure you could spend a lot of time answering this, but if it just maybe just a brief answer to it, but you know, how do you manage your teams through change when you're dealing with some of these, you know, is there 1 or 2 things that you would say the approach? I mean, it sounded like you said one thing in your presentation there was, you know, keep your head up. They don't want to see that you're down or disgusted or whatever, but, and make sure they're, you know, they're happy and getting what they need to do their jobs well. I'm just curious, is there something else that you could, you know, mention about that?
The number 1 objective to every employee, this is all over the world, Gallup has done the research on it, is they don't know what is expected of them. So during this time more than other, as we're changing and we're doing things differently, that is one thing that I would really suggest, is that every employee knows what's expected of them now. Maybe they're doing a different job than they did. Maybe they're doing 4 jobs, right? This is the priority. You know, it's communication, 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 and communication. And at the same time, lifting up their spirit. You know, it's hard when you're down. When you're down, it's really hard. But if you can lift that, that's your, to me, as you're a business owner, you're a boss, that's your job. You know, you're thinking, well, no, my job is to get revenues in here, and my job is to grow this, and my job is, no. If you can get your people to feel good, I'm telling you, they will go out of their way for you. But if you're coming in and you're like, oh, did you see what happened? We lost this, we lost that. This is horrible. Forget it. You might as well close your doors, because the employees are going to feed off of you. They feed off your energy. They're like your children. They feed off your energy. If you're positive and you've got it, like I said, do breath work, take a walk, do yoga, you know, do whatever you got to do, that when you walk in that door, you see them. You know, the African communities, a lot of African communities, they don't say hello, goodbye. What they say is, they come in and they say, I see you. And the other person says, I am here. So if you can have that attitude, that your employees know that you see them, you see what they're going through, you see that they showed up, you see that they're there to follow your vision, your goal, your quest. They're there for you. And if they say, I am here, they are here. But they're looking to you for guidance. They're looking to you for their love. They're looking to you for compassion. They're looking to you for all these things, COVID or not COVID. But now, like I said, it's really heightened. It's hard when you're, believe me, if you were to tell me 6 months ago when I was really battling anxiety, okay, well, you got to keep your spirits up and go in and see those 30 employees. It's a challenge, but you could do it. You know, they'll say, you got to fake it till you make it. But when they know that you feel good and they feel good, and then the customers hear that. The customers hear, well, they're doing good. They're happy, right? We walk into a store, right? You feel it automatically. You feel that energy of the employees. They're happy. Okay, life is good. But if you go into a store and they're all jacked up and miserable, it's like you want to walk out. You don't want to buy a thing. So just keep the energy up. That's what I would say.
That's great. Well, Carolyn, again, really, there are a lot of comments in here. People are very, just really pleased with your presentation, how positive it was. And I do agree that if you can just take a deep breath and try to, like you said, go have that faith and try to open your eyes to some of the opportunities and help one another, that some good things can happen and some good changes. So really appreciate your talk with us today, and I hope we can continue to stay in touch, but really appreciative.
Yeah, definitely. All right, thank you. Thank you, everybody. I really enjoyed it. Love looking at the green dot, my audience.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right. That's great. Thank you. Well, so thank you again, Carolyn. You're welcome to stay on. So, the next part of our program is our awards, and a couple of years ago we established the David Brettel Community Betterment Award, and really pleased today to be able to give that award to Open Arms Free Clinic. And I know Sarah is on the call right now, and I'd like to, just before she gets off, I'd like to just hear from her a little bit, and then I do have a few more remarks here about why we gave the award in the organization. But Sarah, thank you for being on the call and for all the great work that you're doing. And if you do have a minute or so, I would love to hear from you.
Thank you so much, Derek, and all of the WCEDA partners and members. This has certainly been the challenging year that has tested all of our strength and all the tools that Carolyn had suggested. It was one of those things from a leadership perspective of a free clinic that solely relies on volunteers and donations, that all got decimated. So to dig deep with the core structure of people, we knew that we had to keep our doors open. We had a survey that was done last year that 40% of our patients would have gone nowhere for care had we not been here, and that we would have had at least 45% of our patients going to the ER, which now they were getting denied because of their primary care needs were not as acute that ERs wanted to address, or not that they couldn't, just because of the COVID. And so for us to know that access to care was so important, we were able to pivot with telemedicine, curbside medication dispensing, and all of the behavioral health care that we were able to do through a virtual platform before we could open our doors again. And then our doctors who were courageous enough to continue to come in and volunteer so that there was no gap. The emergency dental care that we were able to continue, so there was no gap. So this was a test of all of our tools and our community working together very tightly. So your recognition of Open Arms Free Clinic is much, much appreciated.
Thank you, Sarah. I know that you have a big event that you're in the midst of. Maybe you might just say something about that before you go.
Sure. Well, last year we had 700 people at the Grand Geneva Resort for a gala that we were able to raise $250,000 to buy a dental building. To go from that big affair to a virtual platform that we're going to be airing tomorrow night at 7 p.m. on YouTube and Facebook Live. We'll have a Netflix series of a day in the life of the clinic and that why the need is so great. And this year we have known that behavioral health issues have been compounded with COVID-19. And so our goal this year with fundraising dollars is to expand our behavioral health services with in-house licensed professional counselors. So anybody who wishes to be part of another Zoom call or another platform of looking at your screen, we only have a 30-minute presentation starting at 7 o'clock tomorrow night. So I'll look forward to seeing you there.
All right. Thanks so much, Sarah. Really appreciate it. And good luck to you. All right. So it's because Sarah did have a time constraint there. I wanted to get her on, but you know, there's so many, like I mentioned earlier, just so many great nonprofit organizations that we have in the county. We're blessed in that regard. And, you know, this year we did choose Open Arms Free Clinic for the award. And just to back up a little bit, I'm so glad that we had done this in honor of Dave Brettel. Dave Brettel, I think a lot of you know Dave, but he was the administrator for Walworth County for many years, and actually really very instrumental in getting WCEDA started, and was, you know, kept close tabs on it, was very helpful along the way. And we used to love to have him participate as our master of ceremonies in the in-person events that we were doing at Grand Geneva. And so we'll miss that. Potentially we could pull him back at some point, maybe to give us a little bit of his antics. But we did do this in his honor because he really was so dedicated to the county over his many years of service. And we thought that this would be a fitting award, and unexpected, really never expected this, but Dave has been providing funding for this the past few years too. So Sarah, the Open Arms will get a check in the amount of $500, which hopefully that will help them. I'm sure it will. But just real quickly, there's just a few things I'd like to mention about the clinic. Just take me a minute. But it is the only free medical support care clinic in Walworth County that serves low-income and uninsured residents with primary medical, dental, as Sarah said, vision, behavioral health, lab, and pharmaceutical assistance. And since its founding in 2011, it has dispensed $2.5 million worth of life-saving medications, which is just amazing. And in 2019 alone, there were 6,600 patient visits that were completed. All of this is made capable by the efforts of all their many volunteers, medical staff, and others who have given, looks like, over 80,000 hours since the organization's inception. So it's just really an amazing resource that we have here. You know, in terms of COVID-19, you know, obviously that limited what they were able to do, but it sounds like they were still able to do curbside testing throughout the pandemic. And this year they actually will enjoy their 8th birthday. So great organization. We're really pleased to be able to recognize them this year. What they've been able to do in 8 years is quite extraordinary. And I know that all of our major healthcare facilities are very supportive of that. They work well together, and it's just it's just a great resource, even for some of our businesses that either don't offer healthcare, or if their healthcare benefits are limited. This is a great resource that they can refer to their employees or spouses or significant others of employees. So just a wonderful agency, and we're so pleased with all the work that's being done by Sarah and her staff and volunteers. So we do have another award as well, and this one is more a business-oriented award. And in the last few years, we've been trying to recognize businesses that have been utilizing technology and innovation, incorporating those into their operations to help them just be more effective, more efficient. And so this year was particularly challenging, and a lot of people did rely on their, if they had technology or not, but we learned a lot about the technology we had, how it works, how it doesn't work, and a lot of us had to adapt pretty quickly to new technologies. But this year's award was given to Adams Power, formerly known as Adams Electric. And you know, one of the things that they did was they jumped in, and they were able to find a system and start working with the system called iWave. It's an ionization purifier that they're able to install in heating and air conditioning systems, both in residential applications as well as commercial applications. And it's just been a tremendous, I think, a tremendous way to protect against, the fears of COVID and spreading that in your businesses, at schools, and any type of institutional organization or settings, and just to give that peace of mind and help, especially those workers that are essential workers that actually have to be physically at their place of work. It's just a great option to do that. And so one of the things that Adams wanted to do was to help their local school, and I know that they donated a system to Elkhorn in their career tech ed area there, which is one of their focuses too. They've been very supportive of all the communities, but in particular working with Elkhorn to promote their career tech ed and careers in the trades, particularly trades like the electric trade and power and that. And so they also recently have acquired a heating and cooling division, which is led by, and I'm reading this here, by rock star Ryan Logterman, who couldn't be on the call today, but who was the one that really found this system and donated that to Delavan and Elkhorn high schools. And so, we expect that even once we get through COVID, that many companies are going to want to look at this type of technology and have that in place so that when there are other things that come up like this, hopefully not a pandemic this severe, but certainly other issues that could be airborne issues, that this is something that can help people just feel better and more safe in their working environments. And so we're really pleased today to be able to give this award to Adams Electric, Adams Power. And I think we do have Ryan and Casey on the call right now. So if you have a few words you want to say about this, we'd love to invite you to speak.
All right, thanks, Derek. Appreciate it. Representing Adams, I am running the HVAC department, and we are very honored to receive this award. Really appreciate it. iWave, it's something that's been around for a little while, but iWave was the first manufacturer to go through the testing to actually be tested to be effective against COVID-19. So we took that, and because there's a good amount of our workforce, and some of us, myself included, who went through the tech departments at Elkhorn and Delavan Darien, we decided we want to give back to those departments to provide those kids that are there in the tech departments the peace of mind to be there in those rooms and to be able to focus on the task at hand there, rather than being stressed out or anxious over COVID. So yeah, we donated a few to each tech department, and we've got some really great feedback from everyone on that. So yeah, really honored to receive this, and if it helps one kid, it was all worth it. So thanks again.
That's great. Thank you again, and congratulations. Really appreciate the work you're doing. So, we did send out before this morning with the reminder, we did send out our annual report booklet. It's electronic version. We'll be able to send that out again as well. And it kind of goes through a number of things, but that we've done over the year here, just kind of recap some of the major areas. But I just wanted to take a few minutes to give a couple of updates here. And I think we have a slide that we'll pull up here. And so there are just, a few different things. We did really obviously with COVID, I mean, that was huge, right? So what was our response? Well, we jumped in with both feet mid-March, all of our staff here, and, tried to address what was happening there with what stores were open, which weren't. We kind of organized that, pushed that out on social media, but organized it by community so that local people knew what restaurants and vital stores were open. Worked with the CDC guidelines to get that information out about that, some best practices, what it meant to be essential workers. I can't even tell you how many webinars that we all viewed. And, we realized that most of the businesses were in crisis mode. So business owners and managers, so they really didn't have time to kind of weed through all that. So we tried as much as we could to weed through and find the ones that we thought were most useful or most applicable to what we're doing. And, we shared those in regular weekly, sometimes bi-weekly updates that we were pushing out. We worked, if we could, try to connect healthcare with PPE providers. There was a couple different interesting examples of, some of our manufacturers working together. One in particular that I know Lake Geneva Regional News featured, and that was Royal Basket Trucks in Darien and Protect All, where they worked together to put some PPE gowns and face shields, produce those. And I believe they're still doing that, and they've even expanded their line. So that was great. But I know Palmer Hamilton as well produced some desk shields for schools and other office applications. I know Yunker Industries was doing signage in terms of traffic flow and other signage that was helpful, during this time. So, we also teamed up with the chambers right away and had weekly virtual meetings just to kind of talk about what we were seeing, what we were hearing, and how we could communicate important information. Out of that, we put together a business needs assessment survey, and we pushed that out. I think we had about 150 responses, and then we used that, we shared that with some of the legislators, and then some of our partners like the SBA and WBBM and local banks and a number of other potential funding sources like at the Department of Administration, just to let them know where we're at, what people were feeling, and how they could potentially help. We did some events. We didn't want to do too many because there was so much out there, but when we felt that that maybe we could do something that was a little bit more tailored to the area with the question and answer, we did that as well. And again, some of you attended those, but we have those in our booklet. I don't need to get into the details of that, but there was a lot around financial assistance and just trying to connect people with what made sense, or how, helping them fill out applications, writing letters of reference for grant applications, all those types of things. Gateway Technical College had put out just kind of a free leadership series, a weekly leadership series each week to just help people, in leadership roles. Since things had changed, what do you do now that things have changed? And we tried to help promote that as much as possible and get that out there as a resource. And, when we could as well, work with some of the municipal leaders and share some of the information that we had, or vice versa, the information they had with our businesses. And then, what happened was then once the PPE got out there and some of the funding and people were starting to kind of get a routine and get their own best practices, things did slow down a little bit on that front. So we took time to make some internal, just like a lot of you did, some internal improvements. And, one of the things that we did was we decided we wanted a new customer relationship management system. We're moving from Salesforce to Chamber Nation, which, has focused a lot with chambers, but also working with economic development agencies. And we think that'll make us work more effectively and efficiently, but we also think that it'll help our members and be a good resource for them and cross promotion and that. So we're excited about that. New brochures, you'll see took time to clean up the website, mailing list, those kinds of things. I know that a lot of you did that. One of the things we did was also developed, we kind of looked at our workforce programs and what we were doing. And in the past, it was more focused on just like the youth career awareness. And we said, okay, how can we expand that more? We've been doing some work in collaboration with Gateway Technical College and the Walworth County Job Center on job fairs and that, how can we do some virtual or how can we do a little bit different and adapt to what we're doing or going forward, be prepared. And so still working on some of those things. We've explored some things and we'll continue to do that. Don't want to duplicate, but if there are gaps, we want to be able to help fill that and be ready, hopefully ready in 4 to 6 months when hopefully things can start to come back and when people are going to really feel the pressure there of needing more workers. So want to be prepared for that. And it's been challenging with the workforce programs because when you're trying to work with businesses and schools, it's difficult right now because it's hard to have physical interactions. But we did have we had some success with a number of different virtual guest speakers and career academy sessions, virtual. Some were even on site. We did some limited on site, some virtual job shadows, mock interviews, some different training sessions that were done for the teachers. So tried to keep busy with as much as we could, but obviously a lot of preoccupation with COVID on the school front and even with the businesses and limiting people, but wanted to keep those going. So you'll see some of that. You'll be hearing, from some of our staff, I'm sure, going forward, and I hope that you'll work with them and do as much as you can to help them so that they can help you. Development projects, ironically, we were busier, I think, this year than maybe I've been in the whole 6 years that we've been here, which is very ironic, but a lot of interest in commercial expansions or new commercial smaller to mid-sized type businesses. Same with industrial, a lot of activity with that, partly I think because of what's happening in Illinois and people just wanting to get out or to kind of be more in a rural area if they're able to do some more remote work. So a couple of big projects that we're working on now that could be very significant investment, more than 100 million in investment. So, but just very busy, and even just some residential projects as well, because as we talk with our communities, single family homes and especially some of the starter homes and stuff, they're just there's not a lot available, and it's holding back our schools and even some of our businesses from having people live locally. So, working on those kinds of things. And then just real lastly, a couple of priorities that we want to focus on in 2021. We really wanted to do more with the social media campaign. Kind of were geared up to start that this year, and then COVID hit, so we put that on hold. But want to feature diverse businesses in a fun way and the quality of life pieces, and really kind of start to get that out on social media more regularly. And of course, continue with the development work. I hope that continues to be strong, but we'll always be working with businesses who want to expand or relocate here. And then of course, with our workforce, just continue to expand those and offerings. And again, not duplicate efforts, but try to fill gaps and make important connections so that as the economy comes back and as businesses continue to grow, that we're able to have the talent and workforce that they need. So just a real quick overview. I know we're running a little bit over here, but I did want to recognize our staff because we do have a few new faces, and it's been hard to meet some of those folks. And during this time. But if Leslie, if you can put that up. Of course, I think most of you know me, but we have Joel Espinosa, who joined right before all this took place. I think it was early March. Jenny Quill at the end of the year, but Joel is helping to, he's got a great background in workforce development, but also just working with communities, training programs. He's fluent in Spanish, so he's helping us develop potentially some Spanish to English, English to Spanish training courses. Just a wonderful person, very dedicated. Jenny Quill had joined in December, and she's heading up our workforce programs with our manufacturing group, with our school groups. Very talented, comes with a lot of diverse skills, also understanding chambers and economic development. So we're really happy to have her. Leslie's been with us for 5 or so years and just has a lot of talents, not only in marketing and promotions, but with administrative, and just been really blessed really to have such a great staff here, and hope that, just encourage everyone to interact with them if you get a chance, because they're super dedicated to what we're doing, and they love the area, and they want to just help businesses as much as they can. So I wanted to just give them a thank you and a shout out, and hope, encourage everyone to meet with them. So, and just last but not least, every year we always have a few, sometimes 2 or 3 board members that will term out. And this year we have 2 that will be terming out. The terming out is 2 terms for us, so 2 3-year terms. It's amazing that that's gone so quickly, but we do have Dan Miller from Keynote, who joined I think January of 2015. I had come on in middle of 14, so I really didn't know Dan at all, but it's just been a great advocate. Keynote in general is one of the founding agencies of our organization. They've just been a wonderful partner, and Dan just fit right in there with that. He's been very supportive. They're very community minded. He'll reach out and say, hey, let's catch up, go for lunch. He'll come to our golf outings. We've bumped into each other at college orientations for our children, and just been able to get to know each other on a personal level. But I have a tremendous amount of respect for him and Keynote, and we'll definitely miss having him on board, but we're very grateful for his service, and I'm sure we'll keep in touch. I don't think Dan is here, but if he is, Dan, if you'd like to make a comment, please message us, and we'll allow you to do that. Otherwise, we'll deliver your little memento, a parting memento that we've put together for you, probably in the next week or so. All right, and then the next person who is terming out is Patrick Demoon. And Patrick, it's kind of funny because Patrick ended up serving as our president for 3 years. Typically it's 1 year, but each time that we were set to have a new president come online, that person took a job out of the area and wasn't able to fulfill that role. And so Patrick graciously stayed on, but more than that, he's just been a solid force on the board. I think being an attorney, obviously knows all the legal implications, ramifications of boards, and just even the type of work that we do. So he's been a great person to bounce those ideas off. He's very passionate about economic development, and he's served on our executive committee, which meets monthly. And so really gotten to know him very well, and we'll certainly miss him, but he's just been a tremendous asset and a driving force behind our success during his time here. So Patrick, really grateful for your service, and hope that we'll continue to stay in touch. Again, if you're still on, Patrick, I'd love to have you say a few words. Not sure that he is. So we'll end up delivering that to him in person. And so really that's it. I know these are hard, these virtual meetings. It's, you know, we enjoyed so much getting together, and I'm hopeful that we'll be able to do that again next year. But thank you to everybody who's been so supportive of us. We are here for you as a resource, and would love to get together. If we haven't met with you recently, please reach out, and would love to catch up. Again, thank you to all our sponsors. I want to thank our board members who make all this possible, and hope you have a safe holiday season. Thank you.